embarrassing thing I've done for money.
Biggest insecurity.
Hi!
So what's your name and what do you do?
My name is Mai-Kee and I'm a launch strategist who specialises in getting people booked on podcasts.
Tell us about the first time you tried to start a business.
Oh, I was 22, fresh out of university, and at the same time, I don't know why I chose to do this, but in my final year of university, I thought that I should also train to be a health coach. And being 22, fresh out of uni, no experience, and wanting to start a business probably wasn't the best idea for me, because who would want to hire a 22-year-old life coach, right? No, sorry, a health coach. So that was my first attempt, and I learned very quickly that my fellow classmates and I were all pretty much the same. We had the same qualifications, so how on earth was I going to stand out? So I struggled for the first couple of years, had to take on a couple of side jobs, but hey, you got to make it happen, right?
What did you want to be when you were a kid?
I remember all of my friends would have answers to this. They would say supermodel, astronaut, and when it came to me, I actually literally said, I don't know. I knew from a very young age that I wanted something beyond what life was providing us, I suppose, which that sounds really strange. But I always knew that I didn't want just a particular job, because I always thought there was more to life than just going to school, going to university, and getting married and having kids.
Tell us your proudest moments of date as an entrepreneur.
Right, so this actually happened a couple of weeks ago. So I was asked by a friend of mine to speak at a university. And this was to a group of students who were actually considering digital entrepreneurship. And I thought, wow, that's really cool. And I know my friend never asked me just because he knew me, but he actually saw something in my journey that was worth sharing. And so I delivered a workshop to these students to kind of give them a taste of what it was like to be a digital entrepreneur and the steps to get started as well. So that was a really proud moment, because a lot of them were very open to this new way. And I think I never had an opportunity like that when I was a student. So to be able to give what I never got, that was really inspiring.
What's your strongest character trait?
I'd say I'm a chameleon. I literally am. I'm highly adaptable to situations. Doesn't mean I like it when there's a lot of change, because change happens all the time. And I hate the fact that I can't control it. But I do love the fact that when I have a little mini pity party for myself, give myself permission just to feel all the feels and then just to get on with it, because if we can't control our external environment, then we need to control our internal environment, which is ourselves. So I'd say being a chameleon, so highly adaptable.
If we gave you £1 million, what would you do with it?
First of all, I'd really want to take care of my family. I would love to retire my parents. First of all, so I just want to take care of all the debt that myself, from my business that I've acquired, and my my family. I want to make sure that they're all okay first, and then I would focus on reinvesting into different areas. First of all, I would think of property, and I'd think about my future children, of the kind of life that I want to provide for them, and the things I would have to have in place, whether it's property or other assets in my business, to be able to provide for them in the future. So it's actually more there. And yes, of course, I would give some money to charity projects. I actually would like to start my own charity and be able to fund some of it just to get off the ground. I don't know what it would be for right now, but I just feel that there's so much more we can do. When you take care of yourself, then you're really at the capacity to be able to give to others. So I truly believe that.
What's the most difficult customer you've ever dealt with?
Oh my God. The one who refused to pay me. So so basically a client of mine, started out really good together. I was supposed to write a sales page and a funnel for a book. And it was really difficult to be able to communicate around the launch time. And I was there on call whenever I had to be, but then she blamed me when the sales didn't come through, but she actually ignored my advice about the offer itself. So I was basically just following blindly what she said, which was a mistake on my part because I didn't have much of a backbone. But the problem was, because that relationship quickly deteriorated, she refused to basically pay me the remaining fee that she owed me. So I nearly took her to court, but I didn't, because I was persistent, but I was also I was honest about the whole situation. I could have been a lot more spiteful about it. I was like, look, I've done the work, I've done what you asked. and etc. etc. And I kept pointing back to the thing that we mutually agreed on. Unfortunately, she did manage to, come up with the funding, but that just goes to show now that I won't take clients out of obligation, and I will have more of a backbone and take more of a leadership stance when I work with clients. So, yeah.
Have you been tricked by anyone?
I don't think so. I mean, like granted, there are so many, online courses and memberships and coaches and whatever which are out there, but I also feel that it's irresponsible if we place all the blame on them, because it was our choice to hand over our money. So if I was extremely honest with myself and said, I did everything I could to really maximize this opportunity, if I could say that and it still didn't work out, then it would be their fault. But that's never really happened to me. So I think there's just an element of self-responsibility we need to take when we invest in anything.
Tell me about your most difficult point of networking.
There are dry seasons. So I think this is the good thing about being a chameleon. You need to be highly adaptable, and it is tough when there is a feast or famine sort of cycle that you go through. So when it's a famine, when you're part of the famine, part of the cycle, it's a little bit difficult and you feel like you're not good enough, you doubt yourself, you doubt your ability, but it's just a matter of continuing to put yourself out there and to keep going no matter what, and not letting these thoughts get in your way.
Tell me about a time when you almost gave up but you persevered.
I think it happens at least once a year. Again, it normally happens during a dry season, and you start doubting yourself. You start thinking, oh my gosh, am I even doing what I'm supposed to be doing? How do I know which way is up, and that sort of thing? I almost always give up in those moments. However, the thing that always keeps me going, this is going to sound ridiculous, but all I need to do is travel to London during peak time. That's all that I need in order to remind myself why I chose this path. And whenever you're at that point where you think, oh, I want to give it up and I want to go back to a job, just remind yourself the reason why you didn't want that in the first place. I don't like being controlled by another person. I don't like someone telling me to value certain things that I really don't.
Your biggest insecurity is?
I think my biggest insecurities were always my age, my ethnicity, and this is going to become very apparent to you who are watching right now, but I have a little bit of a lisp. And so all those things have always made me want to kind of like crawl under a rock and not be seen, because I wouldn't say I'm insecure about my age, but rather how I'm perceived because of how I look. I think that's the real insecurity there. Because I started out when I was 22, I always thought to myself, I'm too young to do this. No one's going to take me seriously. But to be honest, it's all self-imposed. No one's actually ever pointed it out. If they have, it's not been directly to me. So I think it's just like how I'm perceived, how I look, and whether I look like I'm capable enough to do the job right.
Do you think that affects your ability in terms of entrepreneurship?
It used to, but because I've received nothing but support from when I do put myself out there, then it becomes okay. I've spoken on stages, I do videos, I even have my own podcast. And so things like that have slowly allowed me to kind of creep out from under that rock and realize that my voice does deserve to be heard, as does everybody else. And so I shouldn't take myself out of the game before I've even started playing.
What's the most difficult thing about entrepreneurship?
The uncertainty. There are certain things that you can have in place where you create predictable results for your business, but ultimately it's kind of like no one's there to cushion your fall. No one is there to brace the impact for you. I think it's the fact that you're always at the forefront of your own business, and that means that you're vulnerable to so many other things outside of your control. But I think if you do have that real reason, that's probably beyond just like hating the peak time like me. If you really have a reason of why you're doing this, and you'll be willing to step into that leadership role and not wanting to hide behind anyone else, because these rewards and these failures are your own, but it makes you stronger.
How much money do you make a year?
I don't know. I can sometimes have a month where I only have like $1,000 coming in, others when it's like $4,000 coming in, and it honestly fluctuates, so I don't know how to answer that question.
What's the biggest mistake entrepreneurs make in what life?
Giving up too soon. Is very, I think because we live in a time where instant gratification, we just want results straight away. And it's really discouraging when you tried a bit or you've invested a bit and you don't see the results come back immediately. But sometimes you really do need to just persevere and just push through, because the best things are always going to come when you've actually seasoned yourself in all these experiences that you didn't know how to handle before, but it makes you even stronger to be able to handle anything that comes your way. So don't give up too soon, because if you do, then you really won't ever be able to reap the rewards that you wanted in the first place.
What inspires you daily?
This is going to sound cheesy. My partner inspires me on a daily.
Aww.
So I'm going to put it out there. I am in a same-sex relationship, and I have been for the last 9 years. 2020 will be 10 years. And she inspires me on a daily because I think our relationship is just it's just a symbol in itself of what's possible when you fight for the things you love. And for me, my business is another aspect of that. So my relationship is just a constant reminder to fight for the things you love, because they are so worth it. And when you stop caring so much about what everyone else wants for you and you focus on what you want and you're willing to do whatever it takes to get it, it's gonna be worth it.
Is property a choice?
If you're born into it, it's not your choice. However, granted, some of us have more opportunities and resources than others, and that's just how the cards are dealt. However, I do think that people are able to rise out of it if they persevere and if they have a reason instead of blaming their circumstances. I really think people can really lift themselves out of poverty, but it's kind of a bit of a gamble. I think people just don't have a choice when they're born into it, but I think they have a choice if they die with it.
Did you take on any debt to start your business?
A lot. Oh my gosh. I'd say in regards to mentorships and any other investments like courses and groups and stuff, I probably have, and on top of my university fees, altogether it's like 70 grand. Yeah, a lot of money, but I don't regret any of those, because whether they managed to yield the results I was promised or not, again, it's the experience of going through it and just taking as much self-responsibility as you can of every investment is going to really make the difference for you.
You become the leader of the world. What's your first action?
I was thinking about this the other day, not about being the leader of the world, but I thought to myself, how much money goes into things like entertainment? I'm sorry for, entertainment lovers out there. I just feel that there's so much money that is funneled towards the wrong places. So if I were able to control the cash flow of the world, I don't know, I'd want to kind of put some systems in place, some laws in place, if you will, that really allows people to have the opportunities that we have in the first world, right? I don't want that to be, there you go. It's just kind of reducing the division of the classes, really, and just providing people as much of an equal chance as possible.
What's the most shameful thing you've ever done?
I've just taken on jobs where I feel like I could have done more, but that's it. I mean, just clean the toilet. But you gotta do what you gotta do, right? But I've done nothing shameful that's that's juicy, okay?
And lastly, do you want to say anything to inspire someone?
I need to channel my Jim Carrey from his stand-up. What's up? He says, you can always fail at the things you don't want. So you might as well take a chance on doing what you love.